Let's bring in Yahoo Finance contributor Kevin Cirilli. Kevin, what are the odds?
Well, here's what's happening in his neck of the woods, President Biden's, is that, look, he's lagging in the polls, but the Democratic strategists that I talk with say that should he run, he would, without question, have all of the support of the party. He's going to have to make some type of an announcement on this. And to his supporters and the Democratic strategists that I talk with, they say that until he definitively answers the question, definitively gives some type of an announcement, then the question mark will still loom large. Separately, the Republican race is already underway. For as much of the news of Trump's indictment of the last week or two ago, it really had an effect on the Republican field, where every other potential and already named Republican candidate has had to defend Trump. And you've seen the Gallup polls, for example, and the Reuters Ipsos poll that came out in the other week that has Trump ascending by a double-digit lead, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis trailing now Trump by double digits. And that's something that I think the Republican challengers are starting to wake up to, is that Trump is still very much the front runner on the Republican side.
So, Kevin, that's for 2024. Let's talk about an issue here that I'm sure President Biden, I know President Biden in the White House, obviously very closely monitoring. China's military declaring that it's, quote, ready to fight. This comes after 3 days of those larger scale combat exercises around Taiwan. My question to you, Kevin, is how do you see this? Do you see this affecting U.S.-China relations, and how so?
Well, quickly, I would say three things. First and foremost, the military drills that the Communist Party of China just concluded in the last 24 hours were a bit more tempered compared to the military drills that they deployed when now former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, traveled to Taiwan. And the analysts that I'm reading would suggest that the reason that happened is because President Tsai of Taiwan met with current Speaker McCarthy in California versus, of course, Pelosi's trip to the island. Secondly, so I think from an analytical standpoint, it's a bit more measured in their response. Secondly, look, I also think that China's waking up and knowing that they can't play peacemaker like they tried to do with French President Emmanuel Macron the other week and put some, I guess, 12-step program in place for Russia's war with Ukraine, but then also attack a democracy island of Taiwan, an incredibly important ally to the United States, to NATO, to Western nations, and to nations that support the rule of law. So China's trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to play peacemaker, and yet they're continuing with this war sabering in the Taiwan Strait. And I think that most, measured people would realize that that's hypocritical, to say the least. And then lastly, I think what you're also noticing is bipartisan support from the United States for Taiwan. I mentioned Speaker McCarthy's successful meeting with President Tsai, similar to now former Speaker Pelosi's successful trip to Taiwan. But we should also note that there was a bipartisan delegation that was in Taiwan, led by House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Mike McCall of Texas. And there were also another bipartisan group of lawmakers who met with the business community out in Silicon Valley last week, talking about what the business community and the public and private partnership can do in order to support democratic values, democratic principles, and to support Taiwan. So I think China is really, if they continue to move the goalposts as what has been the strategic norm for decades, they're going to continue to do something that it seems to be a rare moment here in Washington, which is to unite Republicans and Democrats around the support for Taiwan.
Yeah, very rare to get bipartisan support these days, but this, of course, one issue that is proving that. All right, Kevin Cirilli, great stuff. Thanks so much.